Stories slipping under the radar tonight. Spy agency born in Washington. Long live Nevada, the boat that floated America's hopes. And North Brabant free at last from Nazi knitting circle. Plus, coming up, renowned rock star Pete Plectrum holds world record for most burnt breakfast toast. A scorching 377 slices and still counting. Those are the headlines. File under totally breathtaking.
18. News Bang. Hoisting the torch of fact in a sea of fiction. Till 1952.
Documents reveal the National Security Agency was founded in 1952 by a group of men who really wanted to read other people's mail. The classified memorandum, written in invisible ink on the back of a cereal box, granted the agency unprecedented powers to eavesdrop on absolutely everything, including your grandmother's bridge club.
Former NSA employee Herbert Sticky Fingers Thompson recalls the early days. We had to practice reading letters through envelopes while blindfolded. Those who couldn't do it were forced to work in the cafeteria.
The agency's first major success came when they intercepted a Soviet message revealing their entire nuclear arsenal was actually made of papier-mâché. However, the intelligence was dismissed as too ridiculous to be true by officials who clearly hadn't been paying attention.
Initial funding for the agency came from a nationwide bake sale, with agents selling cookies containing hidden microphones. The project was deemed a success despite several unfortunate incidents of surveillance equipment being accidentally digested.
1912.
Shocking scenes in Newport News, Virginia today, as naval engineers revealed the true horror behind America's first superdreadnought. The USS Nevada, launched in 1912, featured revolutionary all-or-nothing armor, meaning parts of the ship were either completely protected or totally exposed, like a stripper at a Methodist convention.
Eyewitnesses report the ship's oil-fired propulsion system caused mass hysteria among coal merchants. "They're putting us out of business," screamed Timothy Sootface, a local coal baron, before hurling himself into the harbour wearing concrete underpants.
The vessel's triple gun turrets caused further controversy when local priest Father O'Malley declared them an unholy trinity of death and attempted to perform an exorcism on the forward battery. He was later found floating in the ship's wake, muttering about Satan's steam turbines.
The Nevada's advanced geared propulsion system proved so efficient that several crew members reported feeling seasick while the ship was still in dry dock. "It's the future of naval warfare," declared Admiral Pompous Bottomworth, "assuming we can stop the crew from vomiting long enough to fire the guns."
1944.
Declassified documents can now reveal Operation Pheasant was actually a desperate attempt by Allied forces to rescue the Netherlands' last remaining game birds from Nazi cooking pots.
British and Canadian troops stormed through North Brabant, fighting house to house, desperately confiscating recipe books and destroying thousands of bottles of wine sauce. Local resident Hans van Plucker recalls, "The Canadians burst into my kitchen just as I was about to stuff a particularly plump bird. They were screaming, 'Not today, Fritz,' even though I kept telling them I wasn't German."
The operation succeeded in liberating not only the strategic port of Antwerp, but also 17 pheasants, 12 partridges, and one very confused chicken that had been living undercover as a pheasant for 3 years.
Military historian Professor Giblets explains, "While everyone focuses on the liberation of Dutch cities, nobody talks about the brave pheasants who served as aerial reconnaissance, dropping their payload on unsuspecting German helmets."
News Bang. Bringing clarity to confusion by the light of truth.
And now the weather forecast from our meteorological correspondent, Shakanaka Giles.
All right, let's get to it. In the south, we're looking at a proper damp one, like a wet blanket draped over the entire region. Expect the rain to pelt down harder than a politician's empty promises. Up north, it'll be a bit of a mixed bag. A sprinkle of snow, a dash of sleet, and a generous helping of wind that'll make you feel like you're being gently caressed by an angry bear. Over in the Midlands, the mercury will be plummeting faster than Liz Truss's approval ratings. Wrap up warm, folks, because it'll be colder than a witch's tit. And in the east, the skies will be as grey as Boris Johnson's moral compass, with a chance of fog so thick you'll think you've accidentally wandered into a Dickens novel. As for the west, well, it's going to be a bit of a wild ride. Thunderstorms are on the menu, so keep an eye out for any lightning bolts that might be trying to recreate the gunpowder plot. And don't forget, this Friday is bonfire night, so keep those sparklers handy. In summary, then, a right old mess of weather, just like the state of British politics. Batten down the hatches, folks, and that's all the weather.
(1944).
The British and Canadian armies have executed what military historians are calling the most foul play ever witnessed in the Netherlands. German forces found themselves quite literally cooked as Allied troops swooped through North Brabant, clearing cities faster than a pheasant clearing a farmer's crop. The operation secured the vital port of Antwerp, though sources say several German commanders are still rather peckish about the whole affair. For more on this historical development, we cross live via our time telephone to our war correspondent Brian Bastable.
This is Brian Bastable reporting from the blood-soaked fields of North Brabant, where just moments ago I witnessed a German soldier's helmet being used as an impromptu soup bowl by advancing Allied forces. The operation they're calling Pheasant, though I've yet to see a single bird that hasn't been converted into shrapnel, is reaching its devastating climax. The British Second Army is currently advancing through what used to be a rather lovely tulip field, now transformed into a hellscape of crater-pocked mud and dismembered Wehrmacht soldiers. I'm watching Canadian forces to my left, performing what can only be described as synchronized tank ballet, their Shermans pirouetting through the smoking ruins of what was, until recently, a rather charming Dutch cheese shop. Oh, that was close. The Germans are putting up the sort of resistance you'd expect from people who've just had their bratwurst supplies cut off. They're being pushed back faster than a man running from his mother-in-law with a rolling pin. The Allied advance is absolutely unstoppable, like a hungry badger in a sausage factory. Excuse me while I retrieve my left shoe, which has just been blown into that tree. The liberation of North Brabant is proceeding with the precision of a surgeon performing an appendectomy with a butter knife. The Germans are retreating faster than my hairline in a firefight. This is Brian Bastable, covered in what I sincerely hope is mud, signing off from Operation Pheasant. Back to the studio if it hasn't been hit by artillery fire.
Lemshatil, 1952.
1952. Now, where America's most secretive agency has just been born in what observers are calling a memo so classified, even the ink had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The National Security Agency emerges from the shadows, though technically remaining in them, tasked with the solemn duty of listening to absolutely everything while pretending to listen to nothing at all. Defense Secretary Robert Lovett, in an announcement that wasn't technically an announcement, confirmed the existence of something he couldn't confirm exists. For more on this story that may or may not be happening, we cross live to our political correspondent, Hardeman Pesto, who's standing outside what appears to be a building, though we can neither confirm nor deny its existence.
I'm here with Dr. Wilhelmina Codebreaker from the Institute of Classified Things, and we're watching Secretary Lovett sign what appears to be, well, actually I can't see what it is because it's classified.
Pesto, you're there to report on the formation of America's most secretive intelligence agency. What can you tell us?
Well, Martin, I can tell you that I've been sworn to secrecy about everything I'm about to tell you.
If I may interject, this is a significant moment in intelligence history.
Dr. Codebreaker, are you authorized to speak about this?
Well, technically no, but...
She's gone, Martin. 2 men in dark suits just walked her backwards into a filing cabinet.
Can you at least tell us what's in the memorandum?
The memo clearly states that... Hang on. The words are disappearing as I read them. It's some kind of special ink.
Pesto, just tell us what you saw before it vanished.
Well, it definitely mentioned something about signals and intelligence and possibly breakfast.
Breakfast?
Secretary Lovett had eggs Benedict. I saw that part before it disappeared.
So, you're telling me you've traveled back to 1952 to report on a classified memo establishing the NSA, and all you can tell us is what the secretary had for breakfast?
That's classified now too, Martin. I've been informed I shouldn't have mentioned the eggs.
Right. Hardam and Pesto there, reporting on absolutely nothing from a location he can't disclose, at a time he's not allowed to specify. Thank you, Pesto.
1970.
Well, we stay with America now, where scientists have discovered a young girl who appears to have been kept in complete isolation since birth, raising profound questions about language development and ethical research practices. The girl, known only as Jeannie, has become the center of what experts are calling the most significant linguistic discovery since the invention of talking. The case has sparked heated debate among scientists, who are now arguing whether it's appropriate to study someone who can't tell them to stop. And for more on this extraordinary story, we cross to our American correspondent, Melody Wintergreen.
This is Melody Wintergreen, reporting live from the Genie Research Institute in Los Angeles, where a chilling tale of cruelty and neglect has captivated the nation. 13 years ago, authorities discovered a feral child, a young girl they've dubbed Jeannie, who had been imprisoned in a tiny room and subjected to unimaginable horrors for nearly her entire life. Jeannie's story reads like something out of the darkest of fairy tales. Locked away by her abusive father, denied even the most basic human interaction and stimulation, this poor child was reduced to an animal-like state, unable to speak, walk upright, or care for herself. It's a case that has shaken the very foundations of our understanding of human development and the critical role that language and social engagement play in the formation of the mind. Researchers have descended upon this facility like vultures, eager to pry into the secrets of Jeannie's fractured psyche. They say she's a linguistic Lazarus, a testament to the brain's remarkable plasticity, defying the conventional wisdom that language acquisition must occur within a critical window. But at what cost? Jeannie's fragile recovery has been repeatedly disrupted by the intrusive glare of the scientific community, her every move scrutinized, her privacy violated. And what of her future? Will Jeannie ever be able to truly heal from the trauma of her past, to forge the connections and find the solace that were so cruelly denied her? As the cameras continue to roll and the analyses continue to flow, one can't help but wonder if this poor child is merely a means to an end, a cautionary tale exploited for academic gain. The story of Jeannie is a dark mirror, reflecting the very worst of human nature. The capacity for cruelty, the thirst for knowledge at any cost. But perhaps, in the end, it can also serve as a beacon, illuminating the profound resilience of the human spirit. This is Melody Wintergreen, reporting from the Genie Research Institute, where the past and the future collide in a heartbreaking symphony of hope and despair.
Date News Bang. A radiant epiphany of news, uncloaked in the shadows of surreality.
And now, our transport correspondent Polly Beep brings us a special report on temporal travel disruptions spanning 3 centuries.
Good evening, road warriors. Breaking news from London, where the City and South London Railway has just opened its revolutionary underground tube system. If you're heading towards Stockwell, expect delays as crowds gather to marvel at these newfangled electric locomotives. Several horse-drawn carriages have already backed up near Bank Station, their drivers utterly bewildered by this subterranean sorcery. Meanwhile, in Singapore 2010, we're tracking Qantas Flight 32, which has just experienced what we in the business call a bit of a whoopsie. The A380's engine has decided to part ways with the aircraft, causing quite the kerfuffle. If you're driving on the expressways below, watch out for falling aircraft parts. They're not as lucky as pennies from heaven. Back in London, 1890, the queue for the new padded cell carriages stretches all the way to Piccadilly. Several gentlemen have fainted from excitement, causing a temporary blockage on Threadneedle Street. And yes, that is Queen Victoria's carriage stuck in the backup. Apparently, Her Majesty wants to get down with the common folk. Finally, a quick update on the M25. It's been temporarily closed due to a time-travelling incident. Several confused Victorian-era pedestrians have wandered onto the carriageway, mistaking it for a very wide cobblestone street. Police are currently trying to explain the concept of motorised vehicles to them. This is Polly Beep reminding you that whether you're in 1890 or 2010, always mind the gap. Back to you in the studio.
1922.
Calamity Prendeville now examines how British technology revolutionised archaeology and uncovered ancient Egypt's digital secrets.
Good evening, viewers. Tonight we're looking at a remarkable British achievement that changed the face of archaeology forever. On this day in 1922, Howard Carter, armed with nothing more than a Boots the Chemist trowel and his trusty BBC Micro, discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun.
Using revolutionary British scanning technology, essentially a modified Sinclair ZX81 connected to a car battery, Carter detected a void beneath the Egyptian sands. The computer printed out "tomb detected" in blocky text, and history was made.
The tomb contained over 5,000 artefacts, including what Carter initially thought was a Woolworths mask, but turned out to be solid gold. Most exciting was the discovery of ancient Egyptian computer punch cards, suggesting the pharaohs were early adopters of information technology.
The preservation of the tomb was remarkable thanks to an ancient British-Egyptian collaboration. Archaeological evidence suggests the ancient Egyptians used a preservation technique borrowed from H.P. Sauce's secret recipe, combined with traditional pyramid power.
Carter's most innovative tool was his digital cataloguing system, a prototype of what would later become the Tesco Club card. Each artefact was carefully logged using a series of beeps and boops, stored on cassette tapes, and backed up on British Telecom's primitive cloud system. The discovery sparked what became known as Tutmania, with Tutankhamun-themed microwave meals and ZX Spectrum games sweeping the nation. This is Calamity Prendeville, reporting for Newsbang's Science Watch.
A news bang, exposing the insides of truth's boxes with brutal accuracy.
And just time to look at tomorrow's papers. The Times. Frederick's forces finish off French and Habsburgs at Rossbach. The Telegraph. Bomb dropped on Pope's City in WW2, but no one's saying who. Today led with Army Major runs amok at Fort Hood, that's 13 dead. There's a lovely story on page 2 of the Express about an escaped owl, and an interesting letter in The Guardian on page 37 about jam and cream on scones. Finally, don't forget the new serial on Radio Norfolk tomorrow night. It's a real scream, and we've time for one more quick message from our sponsors before it's all wrapped up. Good night, and a very firm handshake from all of us at Newsbang.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. News Bang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.